Good morning and welcome to Quest Television and Quest 93.1 FM. It is the 13th day in the month of July in the year 2023. A lovely Thursday morning here in the studios, and a Thursday morning for us to look into the headlines making it to the front pages of the dailies. My name is Orikemi Mariam and welcome to the paper review on Quest today. Making a return back to the studios this morning at four newspapers. We have The Guardian, The Punch, The Daily Sun, and The Nigerian Tribune. And I do not do this alone. With me still in the studio is Comrade Efe Odomo, our Admirable Quest analyst. And I leave it at that. Good morning and welcome to the show, sir.
Today we digress from the normal norm of the ANCO. Yeah, somebody was asking me whether I didn't make any comment because of my religion.
Okay. Well, Comrade, you have indeed said a lot, even though we have not started the paper review. Let's head straight to the papers and see what the first paper has for us. The first paper for review this morning is The Daily Sun. And on the Daily Sun this morning, the major headline reads, Army to governors. It says, give us free hands to deal with terrorists. The writer there says, rejects call for amnesty for bandits. Well, the Army has indeed spoken, but more on that you can get on page 6 of the Daily Sun. Right beside the masthead, we have disquiet in APC over 30 billion campaign funds. Where did that money go to? Well, more on that you can get on page 28. But moving away from that, we have 6 score 1 mark each as NECO releases 2023 Common Entrance Exam results. I believe that 1 mark must be, they wrote their names properly, I believe.
Well, even they use the pen, not even the name.
Okay, well, read more of that story on page 29. But moving away, we have Navy uncovers sabotage NNPC wellhead in Rivers. The writer that says as reps probe Nimasa and crude oil thefts. Do well to read that story on page 6 and continue on page 27. On energy security, it says federal government to attract $18 billion investments into petroleum sector. You can read that on page 23. We're getting on page 4 with all the way at Kogi. As it says, court affirms Adodo's victory and dismisses Adeyemi's case. Moving away from that, we have fuel subsidy removal. It says Tinubu writes NAS and 500 billion naira for palliatives. Quite an interesting one, if you ask me. But more on that story, you can read on page 6. Ladoja sues Makinde, Olubadan, 10 new Obas and Attorney General. Is making it to page 26 of the Daily Sun as well. And well, for the sake of time, this is the much we can take on the front page of the Daily Sun. The next paper for review is The Guardian. And on the Guardian newspaper, the major headline is talking about inflation and higher education. As it says, tough times for students and parents as school fees hike, as schools hike fees by 200%. Well, you can read all of this on page 6 and also get more information from the chart on the front page of The Guardian. Moving away from that, we have amid $1 billion legacy debts, Nigeria pushes for $12 billion revenue and 10 gas FIDs. Do more to read that story on page 3. Ladoja takes Makinde and Olubadan and 10 others to court over Ibadan chieftaincy law review. Since we're making the rounds on the dailies this morning, but you can read that story on page 5 of The Guardian. Tinubu writes reps for 500 billion naira to cushion subsidy removal impacts. More on that story you can get on page 6. And also vandals steal second Niger bridge fittings. Well, more on that you can get on page 8. Comrade, I can see you reacting to that, but we'll come back.
Nigerian problem, don't fire person.
We can more on that, as much we can take on the front page of The Guardian. The next paper for review is The Punch. And on the Punch newspaper, the major headline reads, NLC protests Tinubu's 500 billion naira subsidy palliatives and demands 300% pay rise. I was kind of expecting this. The writer there says a rep sit on 500 billion naira subsidy relief request today. Federal government and Labour for fresh negotiations. And also 500 billion naira, not enough for 125 million poor Nigerians affected by deregulation. This is coming from the NLC and the TUC. More on this story you can get on page 2 of The Punch. Moving away from that and above the masthead, it says boards. Obi kicks as Tinubu offers opposition governor slots. Quite an interesting one there. I wonder what slots would have been offered to Obi, and maybe depending on the coverage.
Obi is going to be the chairman of the president.
Oh, well, more than that you can get on page 9 of the Punch. Nigeria redeems $500 million bond despite revenue challenges. It's making it to page 19. Army chief orders IPOB raid and rubbishes amnesty for bandits. It's making it to page 14 and page 15 of the Punch. Moving away from that, we have reps probe contract fraud and revenue leakages in Nimasa. Do not read that story on page 14. On page 5, it says House of Rep, or rather, House to investigate 14-year power outage in Ondo communities. 14 years. You can read all of that on page 8 as well. Also, we have, after Obasanjo's revelation, Atiku can't label me corrupt, says Autumn. What did Obasanjo reveal? More on that you can get on page 15 of the Punch. And now for the picture of the day, we can see the headline there, which says no Nigerian child should lack education. Malala tells federal government. The write-up that says Vice President Kashim Shettima receives a delegation from the United Nations led by the United Nations Deputy Secretary General and Chair, and also the United Nations, that's the United Nations Sustainable Development Group, Mrs. Amina Mohammed, accompanied by the co-founder Malala Fund, Miss Malala Yousafzai, and other officials at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. This picture was taken on Wednesday. And well, that's much we can take on the front page of the Punch. The final paper for review this morning is the Nigerian Tribune. And on the Nigerian Tribune this morning, the major headline reads, after removal of petrol subsidy, Tinubu seeks 500 billion naira for palliatives. The writer there says rights reps, and Nigeria redeems $500 million Eurobond through DMO. More on this story you can get on page 2 and page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune. Moving above the masthead, we have Ladoja takes Makinde, Olubadan, and elevated chiefs to court. The writer there says asks for other restraining defendants from preventing him from ascending Olubadan throne. More on that story you can get on page 2. Next, we have APC crisis. It says why Adamu can no longer act on behalf of NEC. This is a statement from the National Vice Chairman. The writer there says alleges party's national secretariat didn't fund Tinubu's campaign. More on that you can get on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune. Moving on, we have Dangote still Africa's richest man with $14.2 billion net worth, says Forbes. More on that you can get on page 7. And lightning strike kills 3 suspected kidnappers. Inquire. It seems as though the gods have begun to intervene. But more on that story you can get on page 16. CBN and Falana spar over 720 billion naira China deal and litigation likely is making it to page 30. And court stops FCDA from demolition Trademore Estates. More on that you can get on page 19. On oil theft, it says Navy uncovers sabotage NNPC wellhead in Rivers. The writer there says reps to probe alleged crude oil theft. It's making it to page 15. And also we have maritime security returns to Gulf of Guinea as attacks surge. The writer there says IMB says 20 ship crew kidnapped in 2023 half year. More on that story you can get on page 30. Also for the picture of the day, we can see Governor Caleb Mufwang of Plateau State with the Director General National Emergency Management Agency NEMA, Mr. Mustafa Ahmed, during the governor's thank you visit to NEMA headquarters in Abuja. And this picture was taken on Wednesday. And we've taken all the headlines from all the dailies I mentioned earlier, which is The Guardian, The Punch, The Daily Sun, as well as the Nigerian Tribune. At this point, I'll open the phone line so you could have your say on the show. The numbers to call are on your screen, but for those on radio, the numbers remain 080-22-931-931 and 081-888-88931. With that being said, let's take our first call, and do not forget to stick to the headlines I mentioned earlier. Hello, good morning.
This is Henry Gwara from Mosoga.
All right, Mr. Henry, welcome to the show. Please have your say.
Tinubu writes in a sick $500 billion loan as already for fuel subsidy.
Yeah.
Mover. NSC kicks says the amount not enough to control the effect of fuel subsidy mover. Now, anyway, it's a right step in the right direction. We pray that this amount, whatever it should go to the vulnerables, not like the coronavirus police that was given up. We don't know where it went to. At least the time the government has some passion for the people. It should go to the right people for Christ's sake. Then again, army to government. give us arms to fight terrorists. And give amnesty for terrorism after terrorists. Yes, that means these people that they really want to fight terrorism. And whatever it is, if they should study the approach by Jonathan before he was removed. Because they get with the terrorists. If it involves taking mercenaries, that means the government should give them arms. Then again, third time for parents and students as higher institutions hike school fees by 200%. You know, the government plan to give us loans, like highly conditions. This time, I pray that they should sustain it because the country today is not that easy financially.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Henry. Let's take more reactions from others as the show moves forward. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
My
Welcome.
name is Matthew from Owase.
All right, Mr. Matthew, please have your say.
Yeah, thank you. You see, the NFC is always demanding for pay increase 300% and so on. The one that they have been increased by the federal government, 30,000 per month. Some states up to now have not been able to pay. While negotiating with the federal government, the NFC should come down on a pay increase. Right now, everything in the market is increased by almost 50%. Then you increase salary again. Then the only thing will worsen the situation. The Nigerian economy will come down. So I want to advise the NFC, they should please talk more on other issues rather than salary increase. That is my take. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Well, comrade, I just know you want to react to that, but let's take two more calls.
One more call will be enough.
We have two more calls. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
I'm hearing you.
Good morning. Welcome to the show. Your name, your location.
I'm Shola Ululu. I'm calling you from Betu.
All right, please turn down the volume of your radio set.
Okay.
All right. All right, Mr. Shola, please have your say. I think you should step away from your TV or radio set or just turn down the volume so we don't have connection interruptions at the moment.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's turn down the volume.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Shola, please have your say. Hello? Well, if you're having issues connecting with us, do not forget you can drop your messages on our social media platforms. Talking about Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Quest Live Online. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Captain Alex.
Captain Alex calling us from?
Coming from Imukwe.
All right, please have your say.
My fear is on this palliative. Are we together?
Yes, we are together.
Palliative 500 billion are thereabouts. I hope it will not be like that of COVID-19 because Nigerians are very good in providing, and the masses will not even see the light of the day. NLC, please, LLC, they should stop disturbing the peace of this country. They've not negotiated anything good for us since Adams Oshumole, whom I can boast of, left that office. Nothing good or tangible has come out of that office. They should at least, if they don't want to help us, if they don't want to work with us, let them keep quiet. I'm sorry to say. God bless you.
All right, thank you very much. But that was the last call for the moment. At this point, let's move over to Comrade to enlighten us. Well, Comrade, you have heard a lot. You've gotten a lot of reactions, feedback from the community. But let's just take one or two things they talked about. Let's start with the army to governors. It says, give us free hand to deal with terrorists and rejects call for amnesty for bandits. My question now is this: has the army not had free hand all this time?
Yes, thank you very much. I don't think in the past administration the army has free hands, based on what we were seeing and the body movement of Mr. President then. Because you cannot be fighting terrorists and terrorism and be telling them don't kill, catch them alive, radicalize them and bring them back into the society. Even I was watching one program one day when a whole general was saying that one of the repentant Boko Haram members will one day become the head of state of this country if he behaves. All those things are not good for the army at all. You cannot tell me that I should go and catch somebody that is having a multiple guns with him with bare hands. It's not just possible. If you want to give a directive, make sure that directive is matched with political will and political power. Otherwise, it is an effort in futility. So if they say they need this power to confront the terrorists, it's a very good demand. And you know, some of the governors too are shielding these terrorists. I could remember a case in is it Taraba, one of no, this is they call him Kabiru Sokoto. He was the one that bombed the Anya market in Abuja, but he was later on found in the guest house of one of the governors in Abuja. You know, all those type of things don't augur well for the nation at all. If you want to give me the goods, leave the rope for me. Don't give me goods and hold the rope. I cannot pull it away.
Well, let's hope that as the army has asked, they will listen.
Yes, if they are not granted, then we know we are holding the executive responsible for the brouhaha in the country.
Okay, moving away from that, another one that seems to be making the rounds on the dailies this morning. It's quite on all newspapers. It says Tinubu writes now and seeks 500 billion naira for palliatives. You've heard the reaction of people. They've said they hope the palliatives get to them and all of that. Now, the question now is, how do we make sure that if this palliatives comes through, that it gets to the grassroots Nigerians? That's
a very big question that nobody can answer for now, because the ones that have happened before, we did not see the effect on the masses. If they actually wanted to get to the masses, one, every Nigerian today has BVN. Every Nigerian today has NIN. Why don't you go into this banking sector and look at those that are supposed to be beneficiary of this thing? Who are the vulnerables? Who determines the level of vulnerability? And who are going to be the people to implement them? You see, so many things that are begging for an answer. You just look, if your roof is leaking, the best thing is not to go and buy buckets and put under the roof. The best thing is to go and change the roof so that it will stop the leakages and you save all the money for the buckets you are buying. If we have this subsidy that is causing trouble now for people because of the high price and standard of living, why don't you plow that savings into the, like I continue saying it and I will continue to say it, into the infrastructural maintenance, so that everything will come easy.
But moving away from that, but still on the topic, NLC has protested, protesting the 500 billion naira subsidy palliative, and they have come to demand 300% pay rise. What's your take to this?
How do you throttle a vehicle and they say that you place your leg on the brakes? You are saying that 500 billion is untenable. You don't want it. And they say that they should give you 300%.
Well, they say the 500 billion naira is not enough for the 125 million Nigerians that are affected. Is
the 500 billion going to be used as salaries for NSC members? So if they say it is not enough and they're also asking for 300% pay rise, what is the statistics they use in calculating those figures? What is the salary of the civil servants of the country today? What is the 300% increase going to be? They should come out and tell us a figure, because you can, in mathematics there must be one correct answer. 1 + 1 is 2 in mathematics, not in marriage. In marriage is 1 + 1 is 1, but in mathematics in the real life is 1 + 1 is 2. Come out with the present figures that is being taken from the post as salary. 300% increase, what effect is it going to have? And is it going to come from the savings from the subsidy? If the answer is yes, what happens to those who are not in the employment of the government, like you and I? Are they going to also send our own palliatives to us? But the big question we should talk about now, the president has been a very, very successful person in the business world. Nobody takes that from him. He has the knowledge, he has the character, he has the charismatic, everything you think about, he has them. He should put his economic team together. Let them look into these things. In what way will it benefit Nigerians? Let our roads be good. Let our hospitals be good. Let our airports be good. Let our health sector be okay.
Well, you have indeed said a lot right now.
I will continue to
quite emotional about it, I can see. Yes, God is still on his throne. But comrade, I have to log out the segment to allow the next come in. I thank you very much for being on air with me today. I do look forward to seeing you tomorrow as usual.
Yes, I also pray that God keeps us alive. But if you remember what Awolowo said, he said, I've achieved everything I'm supposed to achieve, but because of time and age, we will not be able to achieve the last one. So the one we could not achieve today, we achieve it tomorrow.
All right. Thank you very much for making the paper review on Quest today, your morning tea. Have a lovely Thursday.